Welcome back to 515 Garage. Today we're working on the 96 Mazda Miata. Just driving her down the road, battery light came on, started overheating, found out that I lost this belt here. Two belts on the Miata. The one I lost runs from the alternator to the water pump on top to the crank at the bottom. You can see in there there's not even a belt on there.
Yep.
So I bought a new one of those, and the other one goes from the AC condenser to the crank, and then where the power steering would be, but I don't have power steering. So I'm going to replace both of them. I bought two new ones. First thing I did was took off this plastic intake. It was just these two Phillips right here, and that popped off, plus this hose. So to take off this tensioner, where the power steering would be, we loosened this rod at top. I think it was a 10 mil. And then we loosened this bolt right here, which is a 7/16. So I already loosened it a little. That'll come right off, and what that does is allows this to slide down. This pulley slides up and down, creating tension and taking off tension. Then this belt comes right off.
Yep.
So this is the old AC power steering belt. And before we put the new one back on, we're gonna put on the alternator belt, which means over here, come over here, down there is a tensioner for the alternator. So we'll come back once we get that loosened up.
All right.
Don't take it all the way out either. The goal is just to loosen it.
Yeah.
So when I put it back on, I just slide that up and then adjust this top 10 mil.
And that's all she wrote. We'll be right back. All right, so now we're moving on to the second of the two belts that we're going to replace. It's the alternator belt. In order to
take that off, there's two bolts. The top one is the tensioner. It's a 12 mil socket, and then on the bottom there's a lower bolt. I'm gonna have to jack up the car, but we're just gonna loosen this tensioner enough to where I can move the belt a little bit. It's kind of old, so it's gonna be a little challenge. Alright, looks like it just snapped.
Hey, we snapped a bolt.
Fuck.
Alright, cut. Alright, well, we snapped the bolt on the top, so we're going to have to make a bolt run, but we figured before we did that, we're going to get under to the bottom and get the second bolt.
I would actually, if I could redo it, loosen the bottom bolt first, take some of the tension off, because as I was cranking out, there was so much tension, I should have known that bolt was going to snap. But
Yep.
It's not a big deal. I'm just going to jack up both sides. I'm going to slide under there, get that bottom bolt super loose, and then see how easy that rest of that top bolt comes out.
Yep. Might be a little tricky, but we should be able to back it out. Every time something new breaks on your car, it's a learning experience. Shit happens.
How many jack stands do we have?
We have one here somewhere, unless it's in your trunk.
No, I know we have one over there. I thought maybe we had another one.
Yeah, we got one. Monster truck status. Just kidding.
It's going to be monster truck once I put the stock suspension back on.
Yeah. Looks like the plans for the Miata have changed from race car to stock show car. Our next project is going to be getting these stock shocks and springs back into operational order, and then we're going to put them on the car.
They're from like a 1990. I just picked them up today. They came with those original wheels there,
Original wheels over there.
which have about 70 or 700 miles. But those ones have about 90,000 miles. I think I'm going to get new shocks and keep the springs.
Yep.
If not, we can just take out the coils, throw them in, sell the coils, make a profit.
Yep. We figured it's more cost effective to take our cars to car shows and cruises instead of make them real nice, wax them, and
The more we beat on them, the more stuff is going to break, and the more we have to sit in
Yeah.
February 10-degree weather to do this. So
like this shit right now. It's fucking cold.
we got a problem.
Huh.
There's not enough space over here to jack. Shit. Okay, I'm underneath the car now. is the bottom of the alternator. This is one of the bolts that's gonna be holding the tension on what this would be belt here. And what size was that? 12. No, the bottom one. This one's different. But anyway, so I'm just loosening that up. See if I can get the top one out now. I don't know if I'll be able to, because it's snapped in half. But we'll have to take the parts out, run to AutoZone, and since I'm backing this out, there's no way to get this socket out now, so I'm just loosening it basically. We're just gonna leave that socket in there until I can pull this whole unit down. Okay. There it is, snapped in half.
Time for a parts run.
Time for a parts run.
Time for a parts run. Alright, so we're going to Lowe's to get a new bolt. We snapped that bolt.
I called AutoZone for this part, this tensioner. It said 26 bucks. They didn't have it. They'd have to order it, but we're getting this thing done tonight. So we're gonna go see if we can find this bolt.
Let's go do a parts run.
Parts run.
Alright, so what's up, guys? We got our bolts. We're gonna go get some PB blaster for the shop because we need it anyways, and we figured it's gonna help us out.
Help us take this thing out. Then we'll just crank it on with a wrench or something and get this thing off.
What was the price?
Like $1.90 or something.
The 515 approved brand of PB blaster, extra penetration. Brakes loose faster. Just like Terry.
Let's try it out.
Hey Zach, how's it going? Going out to the new daily.
Brought the race car today.
Oh yeah. Faster than anything we've ever driven.
What year is this thing?
1990, older than dirt.
Damn. Let's whip it back to the shop.
Yeah, my Taurus got taken out by a raccoon. I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
It'll be back.
How much was the damage?
$3,600 to replace a bumper and a radiator.
From a raccoon.
Kids, don't get new cars. And fuck you, raccoons.
Fucking raccoons. Welcome back to 515 Garage. You saw we ran to Lowe's, grabbed the bolt. We actually got the wrong one, but we ended up going to a machine shop, getting the right bolt. So what we did is thread that bolt back on the tensioner, attached it to where it goes in. You can see that bolt right there, where that light is. That goes into the tensioner. So you loosen that, and then tighten the tensioner, and it moves the alternator. And then when you get it to where you want it, you tighten up that belt or the bolt that goes on that alternator, and that will that'll make the belt tight. So, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how tight it should be, but it's tight, but not too tight. And the second one slipped right on, went right on the crank, went right on the air conditioning, and then right on this tensioner up here. And I did the same thing. I loosened this, which is a 7/8, and then I tightened this tensioner back here. And I tightened it until this belt is snug, but not too tight. And then I tightened the 7/8. So if I'm right, everything should be good to go. And I'm gonna start the car. And I'll get back to you if everything works. Okay, we have a dead battery, which is not unexpected because the alternator belt did come off. So let's see if we can get this thing to work. Let's go to 12-volt engine start. And let's see if this works. And there goes the breaker.
Fuck that niggas, niggas. That niggas think I'm doing just sitting around doing nothing. Oh my god, niggas can't be serious.
Okay. Let's rethink this. Update 2. My parents got home and found out I flipped the breaker, and all of these deep freezes full of meat are now melting. And we have no lights, and I'm pretty sure I grounded the battery out on the frame of my car. So I'm gonna take this battery out of here, flip the breaker, and see if I can salvage this. Okay. Update. Everything works fine. Turns out that I actually put the positive on the negative and the negative on the positive, and I blew a breaker. But other than that, it's about 3 degrees outside, and I now have a running Miata. Only thing that needs done now is to replace the differential seals, which are still shot. Still shot. So hopefully in maybe a month, I don't know, whenever I can drive outside, I can get this thing on a lift. But right now it's snowing and there's nothing I can do, so I'm just gonna let this warm up and shut it off, and that is how you replace the belts on a Miata.